Well, Congress has unveiled a comprehensive National Defense Authorization Act, the NDAA. It's a record $901 billion national security package for next year that includes $400 million for Ukraine, and it lifts certain sanctions on Syria. And as is often the case, the NDAA becomes a vehicle for controversial social policies. There was an effort to mandate coverage for in vitro fertilization, but due to pro-life concerns, that provision was ultimately taken out. The bottom line is that lawmakers chose not to expand the IVF coverage under TRICARE, prioritizing protections for the unborn. Speaker Mike Johnson said he would only support fertility benefits if they included sufficient pro-life protections that do not lead to the destruction of human embryos. Now, the Senate package includes a 4% pay raise for enlisted personnel, safeguards Americans' posture abroad by preventing major troop reductions in Europe without Pentagon review. It also repeals outdated Iraq war authorizations and removes, this is a good one, DEI initiatives to reinforce traditional values within the nation's military. Now, Congress still must pass a separate appropriations bill to fund these programs, and both chambers will need to approve that final proposal before it becomes law. All right, I think we've got Casey back. So, Casey, the Senate is gearing up this week for a major health care vote when it comes to these Obamacare subsidies. Bring us up to speed on what the Republicans are taking this opportunity to do.
Thanks, Tony. You can't get rid of me that easy. I'm back here. But you're right. Democrats, they want to extend these ACA subsidies, which are very expensive, by the way, for 3 more years. But the plan faces tough odds in the GOP-controlled Senate, as you might imagine. Now, Republicans say the extension inflates premiums, which are already high, and narrows consumer choice. In fact, here's what Senate Majority Leader John Thune said earlier today.
They proposed a clean 3-year extension of the enhanced Obamacare subsidies. Clean, Mr. President. No reforms, no revisions. Just billions of additional taxpayer dollars to prop up part of a program that has utterly failed to reduce health care costs.
Now, Senators Mike Crapo and Bill Cassidy have introduced an alternative, directing funds into private health savings accounts to give Americans more control over their care. Other GOP proposals include Senator Rick Scott's focus on expanding HSAs and Senator Josh Hawley's plan to make health care savings more easily deductible. Some Republicans also support more narrow, targeted subsidy extensions with income limits, and that's important. Now, this vote is expected Thursday as lawmakers race toward that December 15th deadline for ACA enrollment changes. But House Republicans are preparing to advance their own bill before the end of the year, Tony.
Yeah, it sounds like it's going to get pretty crowded there, Casey, with all these different proposals. In fact, we're going to be joined by Senator Roger Marshall shortly to discuss all of this, including a newly unveiled plan of his, the Marshall Plan. Very quickly, on the international front, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says phase 2 of the Gaza ceasefire is nearing.
Yeah, that's right, Tony. Israel's Prime Minister Netanyahu said that phase 2 to the end of the war in Gaza is, quote, getting close. Now, Hamas, this is important. They first have to return the remains of the final hostage, who was a police officer killed in that deadly October 7th attack, whose body was taken into Gaza. Now, standing alongside the German chancellor on Sunday, Netanyahu said he'll meet with President Trump later this month to advance efforts to disarm Hamas and demilitarize Gaza.
I think it's important to make sure that Hamas complies, not only with the ceasefire, but also with their commitment, which they undertook, to disarm and have Gaza demilitarized. We're about to finish the first stage. We're there, almost. But we have to make sure that we achieve the same results in the second stage, and that's something I look forward to discussing with President Trump.
Now, phase 2 of this plan, it calls for Israel to pull back as that international authority takes over and Hamas is disarmed. Netanyahu also said he plans to discuss broader regional peace with the president while reaffirming that Israel is insisting on security control in Judea and Samaria, where political annexation still remains under debate, Tony.
All right. Thanks so much, Casey. We'll talk with you a bit later in the program.